everyone would say, give it round lights, because the original Scouts had round lights. Well, every car had round lights back then because that was the headlight you could get. So to me, that's not a design feature. That is something that was on every vehicle because that was the time that the vehicle was produced in.
When Volkswagen first approached you about this, what did they tell you the vision is?
You told me the vision was to bring this icon back to market through a rugged SUV and a pickup truck. And not only the vehicles themselves, but the entire lifestyle. I mean, if you think about Scout as a companion, as something that was an extension of your life, who you are, the activities that you want to do. So it's really about that, connecting people with those around them and to the land around them, and really doing it in more of a, what we now would say, environmentally friendly way. And I don't mean from a technology perspective, I mean from an outlook perspective.
Okay, so let's take stock here. You say you want to be at one with the world. Now, other car companies, they look at that as crunchy and granola, where we're going to have recycled water bottles inside to make up the carpet of the car's EV propulsion, which I believe you are looking, this is going to be 100% EV propulsion on these. But to me, that seems like painting by numbers, doing it just by that. Like, give me an example of an idea you want to bring to the table that would be in the idea of production.
A lot of companies are messaging, marching to carbon net zero, and I don't, that isn't a conversation we've outwardly had at Scout because it's just sort of in the fabric of what we're doing. The idea behind everything we're doing is to create a companion for those that will drive one and the people around them, right? And so instinctively to do that, you should be environmentally friendly. So an electric powertrain was an obvious one to start with. Will we have recycled materials, things that are thought of in upcycling, using hemp, using recycled bottles, whatever the case is? Of course we will. But for me, that isn't the headlining message, that is just a fact of what we're doing because that's the way we think it should be done.
I think it's a bold step for a German car company to say, not only do we want to buy this very American brand, we want an American to run the design.
Yeah.
That's bold step number one. Does that mean you're going to set up a design studio here in the US just for Scout?
Yes. So we've already started building our team here in Michigan. We will have team members that are in California, maybe a couple of other places. I think that's the one thing COVID taught us, was that you don't all have to be in one building all the time in order to get things done. So I am flexible in the location of the team from that perspective. Having said that, though, I do want the core of the team to be here in Michigan.
Where was the original International Harvester based?
The company was in Chicago, and then Indiana is where the place was.
Very Midwest.
Yeah. So, and I think that's a big thing. If you would talk to anyone on the leadership team, if you talk to Scott Keogh, I mean, it is like capturing the heart of America.
He's from New York as well.
He is. He is from New York.
Yeah.
But it is capturing the heart of America. Not just trying to appeal to the coastal cities, which, if you look at the data, right? Electric cars today, the highest concentration is on the coast.
Absolutely.
Right.
Although I see the most Rivians I've ever seen in my life in Park City, Utah. Like, we have none in California compared to Park. It's like the Ford Taurus of Park City, Utah.
Yeah.
So does that mean Volkswagen has also said we're going to manufacture it here?
Yeah. So we did announce a few months ago that we are going to have a plant in Blythewood, South Carolina. We were just actually down there 2 weeks ago, showed some early concepts to the governor, but that is more about, as I mentioned, being at one with the community, right? And so if you think about the opportunity of a plant starting in South Carolina, it's like creating generational change for people, people that otherwise would have been working at a grocery store, working at Taco Bell, whatever it might have been. To really start to build something in the area, something they can be proud of, something that will, grow industry, real estate, everything else. them acquiring Navistar, as the parent company, Scout was part of International Harvester, and really, I mean, Scott is the one that
he's the brainchild.
He's the brainchild. I mean, he's the one that thought, man, what an amazing opportunity to recapture the heart of America with Scout as a brand. And I mean, I talk about Scout with love and affection and excitement, but you should hear Scott talk about it. I mean, he's like next level, and really my chats with him were super inspiring, and I thought, hell yeah, I want to be a part of that.
So who do you report to? You report to Scott?
Yeah.
And Scott is he runs the Scout brand.
Correct.
He's used to run.
He's the CEO of Scout.
So he used to run Volkswagen of America before that.
Yes.
So basically, he created a new job for himself.
He did.
Not bad. This guy's sharp. I like this guy.
He is very.
And he's from Long Island.
Yeah.
So any timelines on any of this? When we're going to see this?
Obviously, we're looking at end of 26 for production. Somewhere in that time frame. We do want to show something to the public here before that.
Like 2023, 4?
No, not 23, but
okay.
But soon enough.
You got a lot of work to do. You got to build a factory. You got to design a car.
Yep.
You got to deal with product planners.
Yep.
You got to go back and be your politician self.
Yep.
You got to. I got to give you a suggestion though. This Duffy, what he did with this thing here, he's got this beautiful tartan interior, and it's badass.
Yeah.
You need to figure out how to do
the
the tartan.
Yeah.
And the Germans are really good at tartan because they're Anglophiles. In about a month or so, I'm going to share a tartan surprise with you. But you need to figure out how to do that in the modern car. It's the only thing I ask of you.
No promises, but we'll look.
Okay, we'll
look into it. But that's the cool thing too. Is I mean, just sitting here, the Scout 2 behind us. I mean, there's so much inspiration to be had from this vehicle itself, from a design perspective. I mean, it's so clean and so pure. The proportion of it, cabin shifted to the rear, the very iconic DLO treatment, the fact that there's basically no front overhang. So you see the weight of the entire vehicle, shifted rear on the wheels, right?
Which the Bronco doesn't do and the Jeep doesn't do.
Right, and that is something that we will capture. I'm just letting you in on that little secret, I guess everyone else too, for that matter.
You said pickup, but do we expect a 2-door and a 4-door or 5-door, or is it just going to be
4-door?
Give me 3 things you want to bring to the brand.
First, create an iconic design through not doing something retro, but doing something that feels, when an enthusiast looks at the new Scout, they will feel something because there will be elements that remind them of the original Scouts. But for people that are unfamiliar with the brand, it will feel like something new and fresh and cool. And so it's finding that balance between something that has familiar elements, things that make it feel like a Scout. Like, for example, everyone would say, give it round lights because the original Scouts had round lights. Well, every car had round lights back then because that was the headlight you could get. Yeah. So to me, that's not a design feature. That is something that was on every vehicle because that was the time that the vehicle was produced in. But there are definitely certain things. I mean, there's a super iconic feeling to the front end where, this front mask is all the way forward, very proud, and only the bumper is there to provide protection beyond that. And then, the very clean body side, and of course, back then a lot of cars didn't have a lot of cladding, but we're looking at the body and the sculpture of the body versus the amount of cladding and really trying to find the right balance there so that it doesn't feel like just every other SUV that you see on the road. So that's one thing. The second thing is just, I feel like I have developed over a long time a lot of expertise on how to get the most out of design, how to spend money in a very sensical way, doing it in a smart way where you create the most impact with the budget that you have. Just spending more isn't always the the answer, I think.
Did you know Felix Holst? Did you ever know? Chief designer of Hot Wheels for many years. He had a great saying. He said, "Good design does not cost extra."
So first of all, if you are working with, let's say, you have a piece of plastic on the lower part of the door. Most cars, the lower part of the door is molten color, right? You can shape that however you want. It's the same blank of plastic, it's the same size. So in that case, yeah, design is free. You can do something bad with it, or you can do something really cool with it. And so from that standpoint, he's exactly right. All things considered equal. However, on the automotive side, a car is a combination of many products that have to come together and work in unison, right? And so those systems that have to work together, if you design one part that has the impact you want it to have, you may have to do something different with the structure. You may have to align things differently. For example, if all modern cars have a HUD, right? And there isn't a lot of space in the instrument panel when you think about all of the sensors and modules and cables and wiring that go in there. So the difference between fitting a HUD with a tube steel frame for the IP versus a mag beam, which would create more space, the mag beam is definitely more expensive, but it's for a reason. It gives you more flexibility in terms of the packaging. So in some instances, design does cost money.
And what would be the third thing you want to bring to the table?
The third thing is just my ability to build bridges with everyone around me, no matter what their discipline is, no matter what their responsibility is in the company, no matter what level they are in the company.
Perhaps too early to ask because you're just getting started, but when you say build bridges, how much of Germany is involved?
We have very, very regular communication with the Volkswagen Group in Germany. Michael Maurer is
he moved up from Porsche to
the head of group design and still head of design at Porsche. I was in Stuttgart probably a month ago, just for like a group day to share ideas and so on. And Michael Maurer, first of all, is one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. Very humble. You would never know that he's at the level he's at because he's super personable. Even Oliver Blume, the CEO of the Volkswagen Group, I met him as well. Same exact personality. I mean, so that is one thing that I find extremely attractive is humility in top management. Because too often you see people that reach to the top of their game, their industry, and they forget the journey that it took to get there.
I would argue Michael Maurer's probably had the hardest job in design ever. Imagine having to reinvent an icon that if you get it wrong, they will literally publicly draw and quarter you. My guess is to a lesser extent, but kind of similar situation here.
Yeah, no, there's a lot riding on it. There's a lot riding on this, bringing Scout back, and that's why I love it. I love a challenge.
Michael, is he hands-on with this, or he's like, hey, do what you got to do, and I'll check in with you?
No, Michael, he's very. He understands that, everyone is in the position they are for a reason. He trusts completely that me coming in to lead Scout was the right decision, and over a few conversations that we've had and some design sharing, I mean, I think we've cemented that sort of relationship. And no, Michael Maurer is he's just great. I mean, he still of course oversees Porsche design, and the stuff they're doing is incredible. I mean, just when I do start my own personal car collection, that will be the first car in my collection.
I don't know if you're aware of this because you know many of them, but most people who design, engineer cars get paid from the car companies they work for. They pay taxes on that income, and they go and they give that money to Porsche.
Yes.
The majority of people that are high up in these companies that can afford those cars, all of them have a 911, and we've discussed a couple of them today.
Yeah.
Sir, this has been an education for me. I cannot thank you enough for sharing all of this and going into such detail. I can't wait to get together again.
Absolutely.
And see the tartan interior you're putting in the new car.
It'd be my pleasure.
Until we see you guys in the next episode, bis später.